guess what? There's more Orcust support, and I love Orcust, so you know what that means. I have got to cover this shit. So, first off, new Link 1.
Link 1 that searches the field spell.
Here we have galatea-i. Might be galatea-i, the Orcust automaton. Not 100% sure how it's going to be translated in English, but this card reads, it is a Link 1, down left arrow. He needs an Orcust or a World Legacy monster, so we can use any Orcust monster or the World Legacy token that Girsu, the Orcust Mech Knight, makes. And it reads, you can only Link summon it once per turn. Cannot be used as material for an XC summon, so unfortunately you cannot just slap a ding on top of it. We can send one card from our hand to the graveyard for cost to add one World Legacy monster or one Orchestrated Babble, the field spell, from your deck or graveyard to your hand. If this card is in your graveyard, you can banish one other Orcust from your graveyard to special summon this card, and you can only use each effect of this card once per turn. Now, this card quite literally fixes almost all the issues that Orcust has. Not being able to get Harpour into the graveyard, not having anything to do with the Girsu token, not being able to get Babble and Crescendo up on the same turn. This card fixes all of it. Who knew that all Orcust needed was a Link 1 that searches the field spell? The other card that got released was Enlil Girsu, the Orcust Mech Knight. Of course, the name is subject to change. It is a Link 4 pointing top right, to the left, and to the bottom left. It needs 2+ monsters, including an Orcust Link monster. It reads, we can target one of our banished Orcust or World Legacy cards, add it to our hand, then shuffle one card from our hand into the deck, and then take control of one face-up monster our opponent controls. Note that it does not target. It doesn't have to shuffle back the card that you add. And as well, it reads, during the main phase, if this card is in your graveyard because it was sent there from the extra monster zone this turn, you can banish it, send one card on the field to the graveyard, and you can only use each effect of Enlil Girsu, the Orcust Mech Knight, once per turn. Now keep in mind that second effect is a quick effect if Orchestrated Babble is on field, making this card incredible, especially when compared to their last Link 4 boss monster, Orcustrion. But that's the new cards. Now I want to show you what deck that I was able to brew with these new cards and given my previous understanding of Orcust. But first, I want to show you a re-edited old bit that I initially made when I was first playing Orcust. If you want to skip the bit, there's going to be a timestamp on screen, or you can click it in the description to just skip it. Sorry if you didn't and you didn't want to see it. It is a little bit long, but enjoy the video.
Elysium, wir mit Regen Feuergrund in himmlische dein Heiligtum, deinen Zauber binden wieder, was Dämones dränget, alle Menschen wir den Brüder, wo dein sanfter Bügel weilt. Der große Urgelungen eines Freundes Freundens sein, wir einhol das Weiberungen, ich seinen Jubel ein. Ja, wer hat nur eine Seele, seinen oft den Erdenbrot, und wir siegen und der Stille, einen Sieg aus diesem Bund. Freude trinken alle Wissen an den Brüsten der Natur. Alle Guten, alle Bösen folgen ihrer Rosenspur. Jesu gab sie uns zu trieben, einen Freud geprüft im Tod, wo Lust war dem Wurm gegeben, und der Cherub steht vor Gott. aus der ganzen Welt, Brüder überm Sternenzelt, muss ein lieber Vater wohl. Ihr strutzt nieder Millionen, unseres guten Schiffner-Welt. Such ihn überm Sternenzelt, über Sternenbus.
Now that we talked about the new cards, now let me get into my personal deck profile. This is what I was brewing with when I was thinking about the new cards. There are a bunch of different types of lists you can do. There's always like the extender list with a bunch of dangers and such. But I am opting to play my Cartesia build of Orcust just because it still gives us a lot of normal summons that we are able to commit to, as well as being able to have the availability to get our Orcust Nightmare out of our hand, as well as since the Link 1 galatea-i is very flexible, we are able to incorporate it even into our Cartesia combos, utilizing these new cards to their fullest. So that's enough yapping about the overalls. Let's go through the deck profile. Starting off our list, we are on triple Girsu the Orcust Mech Knight on normal or special. This is going to dump an Orcust or a World Legacy card from deck to graveyard. If it's the only monster we control, we can ignition effect, use the effect to make a token both for ourselves and for our opponent, and this is a World Legacy token, so we can use it for the galatea-i. Girsu is incredible. It can also become a tuner in some circumstances, which is somewhat relevant, although not completely. But this card rather, is very powerful, and we want to be. This is one of our better normal summons, so we want to be playing 3 of it. Also, with the new galatea-i, we can always get this card back in rotation now, so we never have to worry about running out of Girsus in our main deck. Although I still do prefer to opt to play 3, just because again, this is a crazy normal summon, and it is our full combo all by itself. Next card that is also our full combo all by itself now is triple copies of Orcust Heart Horror. Now, this card is a lot older than Girsu the Orcust Mech Knight is. It only has a graveyard effect, but its graveyard effect reads, if this card's in your graveyard, you can banish it from your graveyard to special summon an Orcust other than itself from our deck, and then we are dark locked for the rest of the turn. Now, the only Orcust that does not dark lock us, at least in the main deck, is going to be Girsu the Orcust Mech Knight. None of the effects dark lock us, but all the other Orcusts will have graveyard effects where they will dark lock us, where we're not able to special summon for the rest of the turn except for dark. So we do want to play with that in mind, given the Cartesia portion of the deck is light. We do need to kind of make some careful planning decisions there. But Orcust Heart Horror is quite great. We can just normal summon it, immediately link it to the galatea-i, and then we can go off to the races using Heart Horror to then summon out the Girsu, which is going to be the primary summon target for our Heart Horror, of course. For more Orcust, we are on 2 copies of Orcust Nightmare. This card we typically do not want to be seeing in our opener because this is a card we can't really get out of hand without another Orcust that we can normal summon. Although with galatea-i, it makes it a lot easier since we can just pitch this card to get Orchestrated Babel or a World Legacy monster. This card still isn't fantastic to see in the opener, so we're only playing 2 of it. Although we do want to keep note of its level, it is a level 7 Dark monster, so that will benefit our Cartesia portion of the deck. We're also on 2 copies of Orcust Symbol Skeleton. This card got a little bit better since it is a normal summonable Orcust, so we can make galatea-i. It also allows us to banish this up from the graveyard in order to bring another Orcust back from the graveyard other than itself, and then dark locking ourselves. So it's a really powerful card in and of itself, but we do need to pair this with another Orcust in order to get our combo started with galatea-i. Nightmare also is going to be able to send a different Orcust, or rather Dark Machine, from deck to graveyard. Hint, hint, nudge, nudge, this is the one you want to send most of the time. Although we can be sending World Legacy World 1 with it as well, depending on what our hand state is kind of looking like, or what the cards in our graveyard is looking like. And then our last Orcust card is 1 Orcust Brass Bombard. I call this one Ass Bombard because it wasn't really good before, but now it's a lot better because we can immediately use it as a Link 1, and it has a graveyard effect where we can banish it from the graveyard in order to summon a different Orcust from our hand, which can get stranded Orcust out of the hand if need be. Most of the time, if we do have a stranded Orcust, we aren't opening this. we're going to be sending this to the graveyard off of something like Nightmare or Girsu, or even summoning it off of Harpoor if we already have those two in rotation, in order to get that card that we need out of our hand, of course. So Brass Bombard's a cool little flex piece. It's not the worst to be seeing it, otherwise it's just a Dark Machine Orcust monster, if it fulfills a certain purpose being the name, so it's pretty alright in that sense. We're on two World Legacy cards in this deck. We're on one copy of World Legacy World Wand and one copy of World Legacy World Crown. World Wand is an honorary Orcust, enabling us to banish it from the graveyard to target a banished Orcust and then special summoning it with Dark Blocking us for the rest of the turn. And then it has some effect where we can summon a World Legacy card out of our hand if it's sent to the graveyard. Before that didn't really matter too much. Now we have World Legacy World Crown, although it still isn't really too relevant in regards to World Crown because this card can summon itself. Because this card reads, if we control a Link monster, we can summon this to Link Point, and then on field it actually has an effect unlike our World Wand does. And World Legacy World Crown reads, when a monster that was special summoned from the extra deck activates its effects, we can tribute it if we want to negate the activation of that effect and then destroy the monster activating the effect. It also has another effect. If this normal summoned or set card is tributed, we get to add a World Legacy spell or trap from deck to hand. We're not ever going to be normal summoning this card. It is a level 6 monster, of course, so we're not going to be getting that effect, unfortunately, although it's not especially relevant in this build of the deck. I imagine in World Legacy builds, where more focuses on link climbing with those cards, it'd be a lot more relevant there. But that's it for our Orcust monsters. Now our Orcust spell traps. We're on one copy of Orchestrated Babel, even more searchable now with galatea-i. On one copy of Orchestrated Return in order to get extra Orcusts out of our hand or off of our field in order to draw some extra cards. And then one copy of Orcust Crescendo. Now ideally with galatea-i, we want to be adding Babel with that and then setting Crescendo with our Galatea if we're going first. Although if we open any one of these cards, we are able to search for a different one and then set the other one. Now the one thing that we can't do is if we open our Babel, we have to choose if we want Crescendo or our Return, since we are not able to grab these with our galatea-i. Instead with the AI, we will probably have to grab our World Crown. So if we open Babel, we do have to actually make a decision there though. But that's it for our Orcusts. Now let's talk about our Cartesia engine. For our Cartesia engine, we're on triple copies of Blazing Cartesia the Virtuous and triple copies of Branded in High Spirits. Now I'm going to explain this engine just a little bit. I have talked about it a lot before just because I really like it in Orcust. But the idea behind this engine is Cartesia is a very good normal summonable monster that we can just normal summon, and it has a quick effect where we can quick effect fuse using cards on our field or in our hand in order to just fuse into something. And that is only quick effect only during the main phase, but that does allow us to go into its primary fusion card, Grand Guignol. Now I want to just cover Grand Guignol right now just so we can talk about the basic combo. So here it is. This card needs Cartesia and then a light or a dark monster. Now this deck is all lights and darks. There's only one monster in here that I believe, two monsters in here rather, that are not light or dark. So this card is going to be online more of the time than not. When this card is summoned, we are able to send a level 6 or higher light or dark monster from our main deck or extra deck to the graveyard. Now, that is why I was talking a little bit more in depth about Orcust Nightmare. This is the primary card that we want to be sending off of Grand Guignol. Now, Grand Guignol is also going to be able to activate the effect when our opponent special summons a monster using a monster effect in order to summon a Despia monster out of our extra deck. That is actually quite important because that is an interaction point that we are able to utilize against our opponent most of the time, since a lot of monsters will summon other monsters with, monster effects, of course. But being able to send Orcust Nightmare means we can activate the Nightmare, target this card, to then send a Harpoor, use Harpoor to summon Girsu, and then get off to the races without even seeing an Orcust card in our opener. And the reason that we are able to do that is because we are playing Cartesia to begin with. Cartesia also has the effect where if it's in the graveyard at the end of the turn and then the fusion monster was sent to graveyard that turn, we can add it from graveyard back to hand, basically giving us an unlimited starter or at least unlimited discard fodder as long as we're doing what the deck is intended to do. Branded in High Spirits is literally just a way to search to Cartesia. We can pitch a monster and then send a fusion monster from our extra deck to the graveyard that matches the subtype the monster that we pitched had. Although it doesn't pitch for cost, it pitches for effect, so we get to decide it all. Our opponent can interact with it if they choose to, and then we do it all at once. The main idea behind the deck is we are playing 2 copies of yugioh, so we are able to send any one of our spellcasters, which we'll see in a little bit, in order to search our Cartesia if we need to. But we are also playing a Sprind, the Iron Dash Dragon, which is a machine, allowing us to send our machine-type Orcust monsters to the graveyard from our hand in order to search our Cartesia. And you know how the Orcusts work. They all want to be in the graveyard, so we're killing 2 birds with 1 stone in that regard. Branded High Spirits also will have an effect to add it back from graveyard, except it's 1 turn slower than Cartesia is. But it's still pretty alright in order to get the sort of fodder. We're on 1 copy of Foolish Burial in order to send Orcust Harporer pretty much specifically to the graveyard, although we can send other Orcusts depending on what we have going on. 1 copy of Called by the Grave, and then 2 copies of Forbidden Droplet. You are able to play Book of Moon in this deck because of the Cartesia engine, because Cartesia can fuse with face down monsters. Although it does rely us on opening the Cartesia engine and for Book of Moon to be useful, and people are starting to play less and less of Effect Veiler and Imperm, at least from what I'm noticing. So I'm choosing to opt out of the Book of Moon package, although if Imperm and Effect Veiler start coming in more and more, I would say to re-include those. But the main reason I'm choosing to opt out of those is because it doesn't protect our Link monsters, which is really brutal. And also, we can't play so much non-engine in the deck where we're just bricking on it, if you know what I mean. And then lastly, I want to cover our hand traps. Now, some of these hand traps are actually pretty important because they're branded in High Spirits targets or are able to fuse with them into yugioh with Cartesia. Branded High Spirits targets are triple Droll and Lockbird, and then as well as triple Effect Veiler. Effect Veiler pull in double duty because it is a spellcaster and it's a light monster, so we are able to both fuse and search Cartesia with this, while Droll we're only able to search it because Droll is a spellcaster, funny enough, not a winged beast. But these cards allow us to search it. Effect Veiler is still quite alright, and then Droll and Lockbird we're playing because of the Mulcharmies. This deck doesn't actually play very well against the Mulcharmies, so I am opting to play Droll and Lockbird, because in our main deck, we quite literally only have the ability to search or draw additionally like 2 times typically. We can, of course, use Orchestrated Return in order to draw 2, and one of the hand traps we're playing will also draw us cards, so there are additional draws and searches there. Although it is not even remotely necessary to be doing all that like nonsense. So, you know, we can play around our own Droll quite easily while punishing our opponent's Mulcharmy with that. For more hand traps, again, like I mentioned, Mulcharmies really do hurt us quite a lot. We are playing a triple Ash Blossom and Joy Spring, which I was not playing before. It's just a really good card. It doesn't have really any real synergy with the deck, unfortunately, except for just being a good card. But I think that's pretty much good enough to warrant having a spot in the list. We're on 2 copies of Fantastical Dragon Phantasme for hand fixing, as well as SP Little Knight Protection. A lot of people are playing Lynx, especially Sillow Hat Rabbit and SP Little Knight, and Phantasme is a very good punish for those cards. And then lastly in the deck, we are on triple copies of Infinite Impermanence. We are on 12 hand traps total. You can cut down the hand traps if you wanted to play like Book of Moon or some more non-engine, but I think 12 hand traps is probably the correct amount, so that's what I'm sticking with for at least the time being, and what I'm going to be playing when these cards come out. But that's it for our main deck. Now let's talk about our extra. So in our extra deck, I'm going to cover generic links first. We're on 1 copy of Dark the Dark Charmer Gloomy, 1 copy of IP Masquerena, and 1 copy of their lesbian lover, SP Little Knight. And then a really neat card that I was testing out a lot with. I was testing, and I believe someone in one of my streams told me about this, Topologic Bomber Dragon. Now this card is actually quite good in Orcust. It is like a 1-turn delayed Prank Kids Battle Butler where it'll just nuke the whole board except for itself. And because it only does the main monster zones, kind of like Nightmare Cerberus. However, if we trigger it with a card like, I don't know, let's say Dingirsu, the Orcust of the Evening Star, we're able to go Chainlink 1 Bomber because it is a mandatory effect to blow up the whole board, and then Chainlink 2 Dingirsu to attach material to itself, and Dingirsu also has a protection effect, so that doesn't activate, it just, you know, does. So it'll attach material, Bomber will try and destroy the whole board, Ding will have the option to detach material to protect your side of the board, allowing you to basically have a one-sided board wipe while even keeping a Dingirsu up. So really cute plays there. It's a dark monster, so it plays very well with Orcusts, and it's just something that I've been testing out, and it's pretty easy to do by reborning a Galatea during the end phase with a simple skeleton and having an IP Masquerena up. But that's it for our generic links. Now let's talk about our Orcust a little bit more in depth. We're on one copy of galatea-i, the Orcust Automaton. I already went over this card in the intro. It is incredibly good in this deck. We can use the Girsu token for it. We can use Girsu for it. We can do so much with this card, and this card is exactly what the deck needed. The only thing I could even say otherwise is like maybe another normal summonable main deck monster that does something. Maybe like a Poplar-like effect. I don't know, like when it's sent to the graveyard, special summon it immediately. I don't know, something along that line. I think that would be pretty interesting, although, you know, beggars can't be choosers, and this card is something that I would have chosen in a heartbeat. We are also on 2 copies of Galatea, the Orcust Automaton. This card allows us to target a banished machine, shuffle it back into deck, and then we have the option to set an Orcust spell trap from our deck to our field. Now, this card paired with Galatea-i, if we open Girsu, we want to go Galatea-i to special summon itself from graveyard, banishing the Girsu that's in our graveyard, and then when we use Galatea effect, we want to shuffle back that Girsu back into our deck so we can recur it, so we basically have infinite like turns that we can have access to Girsu, which is really cool, because how you want to play Orcust in the grind game is just utilize your Link's effects as frequently as possible to keep recurring your monsters in your deck and just getting that advantage over and over and over again, outgrinding your opponents until there's absolutely nothing left except for a steaming pile of ash. We're on 1 copy of Girsu, the Orcust Orchestrator. This card's actually quite important now. With the new Link 4, the new Link 4 is an incredible boss monster, but it is a little bit difficult to get to. Girsu solves that. If we go Galatea with an extra body, let's say for example, I don't know, maybe Galatea-i reborn from the graveyard, we can make Girsu, the Orcust Orchestrator, to just shuffle back some guys. He can send cards to the graveyard, non-targeting, non-destruction removal, and he's just a pretty good card, but otherwise he functions as a Link 3 monster we can reborn from the graveyard to point to our opponent's monsters really easy, or just to use as easy Link fodder for a card like Enlil Girsu, the Orcust Mech Knight. Now this card right here, I really want to speak about. This card is incredible. Like, compared to the old Orcust boss monster Orcust was playing with, Orcustrion, this card is leagues above Orcustrion in every regard. This card reads, we are able to get a banished Orcust monster back from our banishment or a world legacy, put it into our hand, and then we have the option to put a card, any card from our hand, back into our deck in order to permanently snatch steal an opponent's monster. That's crazy. That's really good. It doesn't target, it doesn't destroy, it just takes an opponent's monster upon resolution just by recycling your own materials back into your deck. It's fantastic. With Babble Up and Babble giving everything a quick play, you can do this on your turn and on your opponent's turn, getting an obscene amount of Link material. If you know what deck your opponent's playing, you could really easily cut them off of what they want to do with this card. I think this card is really, really good. And its errors are just pretty alright too. It allows them to almost always be linked to something, turning on your Orcust protection like Galatea or Girsu. So I think this card is amazing, and I'm really excited to see what rarity both this card as well as this card get in the TCG. I really hope they get high rarity printings, at least this one, so I can bling it out even further. We're also on 2 copies of Dingirsu, Orcust of the Evening Star. This card's fantastic. I think playing 2 is correct because the second one comes up quite frequently where we don't want to be reborning it. We want to just summon another one out of the extra deck. On summon, it can non-targeting send something to the graveyard, and then or we can attach a banished machine to it as material. I believe it might be Orcust, but it attaches a material to itself. Then if a card on field would be destroyed by battle or card effect, we can attach a material from Dingirsu instead, and that is not a once per turn. So if we make this over an Orcust Link monster and then we attach a material, it'll have 2 materials on it, and if we choose to keep that on board, it can protect twice. So really powerful card in that aspect, and I think this card is one reason why this deck is going to be quite good, because it can remove stuff super easy. I mean, all the other Orcust also remove stuff very easy, but Ding is the easiest way to remove things. We are playing the Cartesia engine, so we do need to be playing Cartesia cards. We're on 2 copies of Grand Guignol, the Dust Dragon. This both lets us do it multiple times, or if we open up a spellcaster and we need to search Cartesia, we can always send one of these to the graveyard to search Cartesia to make the other one, although that will mean we will only have one to work with throughout the course of the game, although just getting there in the first place is sometimes just good enough. Now, unfortunately, I've been sorting through my cards a lot in the past, like 3 weeks, and I happened to misplace my Sprint the Iron Dash Dragon. I don't know how it happened. So just pretend in your mind of minds that this is a Sprint the Iron Dash Dragon. It doesn't matter what it does. It literally doesn't matter what it does. The only thing that matters is the stat line and what it is and the level. It's the same thing as this pretty much, except it's a machine. So, you know, take with that what you will. And then the last card, we were previously playing Despian Proskinian. I opted to change that for Despian Lulu Walilith, just because this card allows us to non-target negate cards that aren't even monsters, which was something the deck previously struggled with in the past. Also allowing us to permanently boost our entire team, and sometimes even make OTKs really, really hard for our opponents to accomplish. But that's going to be about it for the deck profile. Now let me show you a basic combo before we end it off. Alrighty guys, so this is going to be our test hand and show you, like, as well as the combo tutorial. All we need is Cartesia, any light or dark monster, and then any card. It could be literally anything to discard. It just needs to be a card to discard, that's it. But we start off, we're going to start off our turn. We're going to normal summon this Cartesia. Then we're going to use the effect to fuse. We're going to use the Veiler in the Cartesia to fuse in Grand Guignol. We're going to use the effect to dump Orcust Nightmare to the graveyard. We're going to go Nightmare, target Grand. We're going to dump Harpor. We're going to go Harpor, summoning out a Girsu, and then we're going to go Girsu effect in order to dump World Wand. Then we're going to link 1 into the link 1, and we're going to dump that Brandon High Spirits in order to grab the field spell. Then we are going to activate the field spell just to get on board. We're going to go World Wand to bring back the Harpor so we can use it again next turn. We're going to go into a Galatea, and then we're going to use Galatea-i, Chain Link 1, banishing our Girsu, Galatea Chain 2 in order to put back that Girsu. We're going to put back the Girsu, set a Crescendo as long as we have an Orcust link. This is just a negate for anything. And also we'll banish the card it negates, which is really powerful. And then Galatea-i is going to summon itself back from the graveyard as free material. We're going to go Galatea into a Ding Girsu, Orcust of the Evening Star. We're going to use the effect in order to attach material, and being Orcust Nightmare, so we can use it on our opponent's turn. Then we're going to go the Ding Girsu plus the Harpor in order to make IP Masquerena. And then we're going to end phase go Cartesia in order to put Cartesia back in our hand. Now, what does this actually end on? We have an IP Masquerena that is able to go into an SP Little Knight without dark locking ourselves with the Galatea-i. We have Crescendo online because we have an Orcust Link monster on our side of the field, so we are able to negate anything. As soon as our opponent's turn starts, we can send this Cartesia to the graveyard with Galatea-i in order to add a World Legacy card from our deck to our hand, being the last World Legacy that's in our deck, or World Crown. And we have our Ding Girsu in our graveyard, a Harpor in our graveyard, a Nightmare in our graveyard, and if our opponent summons a monster using a monster effect, we have Grand Guignol, the Dusk Dragon, in order to summon Despian Lulu Walilith if we have not dark locked ourselves previously in the turn. It's a pretty alright combo, although it does lose against certain things like Cosmic Cyclone. We do have to Crescendo, and it will force out that negation, but it is quite a varied end board with a variety of interaction, as well as a lot of follow-up given the cards that we have in our graveyard, and the card that we add back to our hand, which can start our whole combo over again, given one more light or dark monster. Now, let's rewind the clock just a little bit to see what we could have ended on. Alrighty, now that we're back to the point where we have Galatea and Harpor on the field, we're going to go Galatea-i in order to banish the Girsu in order to summon itself, and then we're going to go Galatea to put the Girsu back in order to send the Crescendo, just like we did last time. and we are going to be able to summon that out. And then here we're going to use the Galatea and the Harpor in order to make a long Gearsu, the Orcust Orchestrator. The purpose of this is we want another Orcust Link monster in our graveyard, just so we're able to potentially bring it back either during our opponent's turn or during our next turn, just to make it easier to make instead of having to, link summon it properly. And then we're going to go long Gearsu plus galatea-i in order to make the new card Ellen Gearsu, the Orcust Mech Knight. Now, this doesn't seem too much, like it's crazy at all, really, but we're able to go Ellen Gearsu effect in order to just add back this Orcust Nightmare to our hand, so we don't actually have to go Din Gearsu to get this card back in rotation. Now we're going to go end phase, and in the end phase we're going to get this Cartesia back, and then at the start of our opponent's turn, in the draw phase, we're going to go AI, because it is a quick effect because of Babel. We're going to banish the Galatea, because we can bring it back with a World Wand on our next turn, because we don't need it this turn. And then we're going to go AI effect, because it is a quick effect, of course, to dump the Nightmare in order to add our World Crown from deck to hand. Now in our graveyard, we have Harpor, we have Nightmare, we have Gronguignol, and we have a long Gearsu if we do choose to send a Symbol Skeleton. We can still utilize it, even though we don't have Din Gearsu, we can summon our long Gearsu, and we would have 4 cards banished, being Symbol Skeleton, our Harpor, our Galatea, and our World Wand, so we're going to be able to put back the World Wand and whatever other card we would want to in order to shuffle back a linked, to send a linked card to the graveyard. Non-targeting, which is really powerful. We also have the Snatch Steal available to us, and of course the Orcust Crescendo, and the Despian Lulu Lilith accessible via Gronguignol, the Dusk Dragon. But that's going to be about it for the video. Thank you all so much for watching. If you still are, I really appreciate a lot. If you want to see another video in the future, let me know what video or what deck profile you'd like to see. I always take a look at the comments, and I always take them into consideration when choosing the decks to vote on. Thank you to my member. Thank you, Ari. If you want to become a member, stick around to the end of the video. You can become a member and get awesome benefits. But that's going to be about it for the video. Thank you all so much for watching. I'm going to be seeing you all later. Bye-bye. Thank you guys so much for watching the video. If you wanted to talk to more Yu-Gi-Oh players like yourself, I would highly recommend checking out our Discord server. Link is going to be in the description, as well as the QR code on screen. We do talk somewhat frequently about Yu-Gi-Oh and the current meta, so I would really enjoy to see you there. As well as we do recently now have channel memberships available on our YouTube channel, where we have 3 different tiers. We have Super Supporter at $2 a month, where you get loyalty badges, emojis, guaranteed comment responses, a shout out at the end of every video, as well as access to the members only Discord channel, where you get early sneak peeks at future videos. There is the Giga Supporter at $5 a month, where you have early access to all new videos about a day or 2 before they go up, as well as all the previous offers. And for $15 a month, we do have our final tier, which is going to be Femboy Fanatic. You get a guaranteed customized video every single month, as well as 1 hour of my time. Could be for anything you'd like. You want a duel? Absolutely. You want me to help build a deck? Absolutely. You want to play some Helldivers? Sure. I'll do anything for an hour once a month. But supporting does help me out quite a lot, and it does help me produce all of these videos. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll be seeing y'all later. Bye-bye.